have your attention, please? Good evening.
You're listening to Straight Talk with Dean and Mark. We thank you for tuning in and hope you enjoy another exciting episode of our show.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to another episode of Straight Talk with Dean and Mark. It's the day after Mother's Day 2020. 57 degrees up here in New Jersey, a little breezy. But from NJ to NC, it's the six-man Dean Geronimo. I'm in the studio with my right-hand man, Mark Lee. So, Mark, tell me what's good in your neck of the woods, my brother.
Well, the weather is definitely cooperating here in North Carolina. We had a couple of days where it was a little bit on the chilly side, and that wasn't the greatest thing in the world because, we like it to be a little bit cool and everything, or, a little bit more relaxing in the springtime. But it did get a little on the nippy side. I think we got down near freezing on one of them days, and, I got some friends that did planting and things of that nature, so they had to protect their plants and see what they could do to keep those plants rolling. And I think we might drop down to 39, but we were thinking around the 60s earlier today, and they're talking the temperatures that I like, which is those 70s and 80s later on this week. So definitely some great weather being held here and everything. Yours truly is still involved in stuff. Had a meeting with my fellas that I'm working on that Fayetteville Street project and everything. So we had a meeting, and somehow food came up in the conversation. We were doing icebreakers, and it seemed like food became part of our theme in our icebreakers, along with some good old music and everything. So we had that going on, and then I've been catching things online and on regular TV. Even saw an old Eddie Murphy movie that I had not seen before that I actually was quite pleased with. I mean, Eddie's always had some amazing movie roles, but I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Mr. Church, but it was actually not as bad as I thought it might be. And that was actually a pretty decent movie. I thought it was a good job of both him and the family that he was taking care of and everything. I thought all the actors did a great job in that movie, so I caught that and actually enjoyed it, so had that going on. And then, there's, of course, with what's going on in the world, we must also let folks know that there's been some sad news in the world as well. We have lost some great legends. I don't know that there were any of them that I have been confirmed that they were COVID-related, but there are definitely some powerful legends that have been lost and everything. People like Little Richard, who is definitely a pioneer in the field of rock music and soul and all of that. Mm-hmm. Betty Wright as well. Betty Wright has passed away. And then we also had Roy, and Roy.
And Andre Harrell, the founder of Uptown Records, who Sean Puffy Combs once worked as an intern for. He passed. It was almost in order. It was like Andre Harrell, then the gentleman from Siegfried and Roy, Little Richard, and then Betty Wright.
Yeah. Some amazing artists that have passed on into the heavenly gates now, and I'm sure that they're going to be still doing some great entertainment up there in the heavenly domains and everything, because all four of them were some very powerful figures in the entertainment field. Andre more on the producing side and everything of that nature, but that takes some major skills as well. So we're not going to not count him among the great performers and everything, because production is also a major skill also. So, but definitely the three other ones were great showmen, and I understand that they were amazing individuals from what I've read about them and everything. So it seems like all of them were just amazing individuals as well. So their music will be missed. As a matter of fact, I had the pleasure of seeing, I never saw Siegfried and Roy except for on TV. I can't say that I ever saw Little Richard, but I did have the pleasure of seeing Betty Wright. I want to say that I might have even introduced Betty Wright at the Bull Durham Blues Festival, because she performed there twice. We did one at the DPAC, which is, of course, everything down here is shut down because of what's going on with COVID-19 and the coronavirus and everything. But she did perform at the DPAC, and then she also performed one time, I believe, at the Old Ballpark, which is where most people know the Bull Durham Blues Festival as being kind of like the premier site that people really enjoyed it being at. So I had the pleasure of memory is serving me correctly, of seeing her not once but twice. And I can tell you she gave it a great show and definitely was a powerful show as well. So, like I said, definitely a true legend that will be missed here on this earthly plane and everything. So, but her music's going to live on. I mean, think of all them great songs that she performed in, some amazing songs, and that music's going to be out there being performed, both as covers, but also folks will dig up old tapes and old performances of hers, and we'll see her in those kind of performances as well. The music will definitely live on, I will argue, for decades, if not centuries. So she had that kind of impact. And Little Richard had such a powerful impact. I was reading a quote about Little Richard, which I had not really thought about, but it seems that Little Richard, part of the reason of his dressing flamboyantly in the 50s was he had a quote, I think it was a friend of mine or acquaintance posted it on Twitter, that in some interview he said that part of the reason of him doing that was that it was his way of defusing the white citizens in the South, because they were afraid that somebody like him might wind up going up there and taking their women. So that was his way of diffusing that situation, was to dress flamboyantly, and that was a method that he used in order to get past them and everything. So I thought that was interesting that, you know, in the 50s when he was coming out and everything, part of his dressing up was to, like, look, I'm not a threat to y'all and everything, because this is what I'm doing.
Interesting, right? It's always more than one way to skin a cat, like the older folks said.
Always. More than one way to skin a cat, and sometimes you just got to do what you got to do in order to survive and everything. And I did notice that today we saw that, you know, certain people do not want to wear masks. They say that it does not make them look attractive. I did not know that they was part of their job was to look attractive or anything. I thought it was to be running a country, but they apparently they have made the statement that they do not want to wear the mask because they did not like the way that it made them look. So I didn't know that that was part of the requirements of that particular job, but apparently in their Hollywood mindset, they thought that it was. So that's part of the reason. And now it's hitting them directly, because I think there's like either 2 or 3 members that are within the White House administration that are under various forms of quarantine because they have come down either with the virus itself or they were around people with the virus. So, but they don't even want to be putting themselves in quarantine either. So some of these things that are coming from leadership or what they consider themselves to be leaders, I'm kind of wondering what kind of leadership this is.
You know what? It's amazing how the ugly folks worried about how they look. You know, and now you got it running around over there at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And you, okay, it's fine. I'll shut up. Never mind. I'm not even going, you know what? Stupid is and stupid does, like my man Forrest Gump said, you know. So, you know,
exactly.
Wear your mask. It's okay. Dr. Fauci told y'all what was going to happen. You know, y'all want to just disregard what he has to say. I guess y'all got all, like what the old people say, I guess you got all the sense, right? So since you have all the sense, while we wear our masks, y'all go ahead and then we'll see what happens as it progresses, because you're going to show it to us firsthand since you know everything.
Or don't know everything, as the case may be. So some people think they know everything, but we're finding more and more that they know less and less.
That's true. That's very true. You know, just not that smart. Not as smart as some give them credit for anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
We got 2 at the door, bruh, and I don't know who's who. You know what I mean?
Well,
so
I think my 919 number may be our indoor football guy, so I definitely want to bring him in at some point. But let's grab the 510 number first, because that might be my guy from Mindful, Texas, and I'm also expecting a gentleman to call us that's going to talk about that person at Pennsylvania Avenue. But the 510 might be my person out of California. So let's grab the Californian and see if that's who that is, and then we'll probably come up and see if that other one is Mr. Holiday, and I'm expecting some other people to call as well. Who do we have on the line with us here?
Hey, this is Mark Montalban with Mindful Text.
How are you doing? That's who I was looking for first. How are you doing? I've got some other people that are going to be calling as well. Now, Dean, this gentleman, one of his people called me up, and he's a up-and-coming entrepreneur out of, I believe, the West Coast area, and he's got some really powerful things that he's doing. And they reached out to me, and they were like, yeah, if y'all want to talk to some entrepreneurs, this is a young man coming out of the minority community that is definitely doing some very powerful things, putting things together with both mindfulness as well as, I think, some stuff around yoga and stuff like that. But I'm going to let Mark talk about what he's doing. I got to teach you, though, you're, let's see, are you doing the Mark the right way, or are you doing it the wrong way? Are you spelling yours with a C or with a K?
With a K.
That's what they're afraid of. You're doing it the wrong way. It's got to be with a C. You're just doing it absolutely wrong, but that's okay. We'll let you. We'll forgive you this one time and everything. But tell us a little bit about Mindful Text and what Mindful Text is all about.
Of course, yeah. Well, my dad named me after the Gospel of Mark, so maybe that gives me some leeway. Talking a little bit about Mindful Text, we make it ridiculously easy to integrate a mindfulness and meditation practice into your life. We send a short text message to your phone with varying speeds in terms of how many times a week you'd like it within the topic of wellness. And when you subscribe to an app, there's actually a 30% retention rate with an app over 3 months. But there have been a lot of studies with how using the SMS app and engaging with people through SMS, specifically with wellness, it has a very impactful it's a very impactful method in terms of helping people with their health. And there's been a lot of studies for that. So what we're doing, based on new advancements with how Apple and Samsung are allowing text messages to work, we're sending content to people to engage them with mindfulness and meditation almost every day to help them integrate mindfulness and meditation practices. And monks actually spend decades practicing mindfulness and meditation. And with our experience, we are helping people take this daunting task of going to practice meditation for the first time, or learning to integrate mindfulness, which I can discuss further if you guys have questions, and making it really easy for people to understand and integrate the many practices that come along with learning about mindfulness and meditation.
Cool. And what I'm finding, and I definitely want to learn more about it, and I've got some other people that will be joining our conversation, talking about all kinds of things during the course of our 2-hour podcast and everything. But one of the things that I'm really interested in is that we're seeing more and more people that are dealing with mindfulness because of what's going on in the world. It doesn't matter whether they're in the West Coast like you are, or whether they're here in the East Coast where me and Dean are. I'm here in North Carolina. He's, of course, up there in the New Jersey area. But we're finding just people in general, because of what's going on in the world, are finding that this is a time to do a lot of self-reflection because, you know, you've got a lot of time on your hands. You're probably doing your work from home. Your kids, if you got kids, are doing their schooling from home. And a lot of times we're also just trying to figure out what the heck's going on with the world in general because, you know, the virus came out of nowhere. It's disrupted all kinds of things in our life and everything, and it's, you know, threatened the lives and actually even taking the lives of a lot of folks. So I'm just finding that a lot of people are reflecting on what they should do with their lives now because of the impact of this pandemic. So I'm imagining that you're probably seeing a bump in your business because of what's going on in the world as more and more people are thinking about mindful techniques, whether that's yoga, whether that's meditation, whether that's whatever. So are you seeing that kind of impact with people?
Definitely. You know, given the hyper-connected and fast-paced nature that we live in today, you know, we have so many tasks that are being put on our to-do list. We log onto Facebook, and then all of a sudden 2 hours disappear, and then you feel kind of awkward or you feel a little off just spending so many hours just scrolling through your feed. You know, people are becoming aware of how technology is impacting their well-being. And now, since we have so much time to not be in traffic and think about our lives and where we want to go, mindfulness is definitely on top of people's minds. We're mindful about what we touch. We're mindful about who we're meeting. We're mindful about, you know, the news. The news these days is just so negative, right, and so all over the place. So mindfulness is definitely helping people open up to that side of themselves that has not been so accessible because of the prior fast-paced life before the pandemic.
Yeah, definitely. We're seeing a lot of that going on and everything, more people kind of doing that. I do want to bring on some of our other guests, including a woman that is part of a network that is trying to get things